Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the No DQ live recap of Friday Night Smackdown for January the 29th, 2021. This was the final episode of Smackdown, the go-home show for this Sunday's Royal Rumble pay-per-view. And apparently we still have a few more announcements to come before the Rumble. We have WWE Backstage this coming Saturday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and there will be a match to determine the number 30 spot in the women's Royal Rumble, not the men's. Originally, it was announced that on Backstage, we would find out the number 30 participant in the men's Rumble and the first two participants in the women's Rumble. WWE flipped it, so now it's the first two participants in the men's match that will be announced, and then we will have Natalya versus Tamina to determine the number 30 spot in the Royal Rumble. What? Why not just do a battle royal? Why Natalya and Tamina? Makes no sense to me whatsoever. Just felt like you put in two random people for the best spot in the Royal Rumble match for no rhyme or reason. Yeah, pretty lame if you ask me, but whatever. WWE is going to do what they're going to do. They're getting upwards of $200 million a year from Peacock. They're rolling in the money, so when it's all said and done, doesn't matter. They can do whatever they want, whether it makes any sense or not. That's how WWE rolls. So let's get to this show, which was basically the Invasion of Raw show with no hype whatsoever. Just a bunch of Raw people showing up, and we'll talk about it right here. Shout out to everybody in the chat room watching this live. I do appreciate it. We kicked off the show with Daniel Bryan. He was dressed up. He talked about it being Royal Rumble weekend, and he doesn't know how many WrestleMania moments he has left. He said he's ready for anything, though. And in the Royal Rumble, you have to expect the unexpected. We had, speaking of unexpected, AJ Styles made his appearance. AJ came into the ring with Omos, his bodyguard, and he said it's the brand-to-brand invitational. I thought that was left behind in 2020, but much like the other problems we got going on in the world, it carried over into 2021. We still have the brand-to-brand invitational. And AJ said he was the first guy to declare himself, and everybody started copying him after that. We had AJ talking about how Bryan doesn't look like he's ready for the Royal Rumble because Bryan's all dressed up. AJ said Bryan looks like he's back to doing his old GM role. He looks like it's 1 foot out the door. Bryan denied this, of course, and challenged Styles to a match. And why not? AJ Styles showed up in his gear ready to wrestle, so you might as well challenge the guy. And basically, AJ Styles accepted the match, and Bryan dared Styles to do the match without Omos. And Bryan said, whether Omos is there or not, Bryan said he will kick Styles' ass. And that was the opening segment of this show. We had a backstage promo from Bayley. She praised Bianca Belair's documentary on the WWE Network, but said that Bianca has a tendency to run away from all of her problems. And there's one problem she's not going to be able to run away from, her biggest problem, which is Bayley. And after Bayley wins the Royal Rumble, Bianca will have to crawl back into the darkest hole that she could possibly find. We had a match between Bayley and Bianca. Bayley went after the shoulder and arm of Bianca because, of course, last week during that segment where they were doing the obstacle course, Bayley attacked Bianca and injured her. So Bayley went after the body parts. However, Bayley was doing a little bit too much trash talking, yelling ding dong repeatedly, messing with Bianca's hair. And you don't do that. You don't tug on Superman's cape, and you do not mess with Bianca Belair's hair. She had a fire lit under her ass, and she went to town on Bayley, punching her repeatedly. She went for a cover, but Bayley got her foot on the rope, and Bayley managed to gain the upper hand again, hit her flying elbow for a near fall. Bianca was having issues with her bad arm, but she managed to come back and hit the kiss of death, the KOD, to pick up the win over Bayley. Everybody in the chat room talking about Natalya versus Tamina. After the match was over, we had Bianca interviewed by Kayla Braxton, said it was the biggest win of her career, and she will never apologize for being her. And the only thing that can top beating Bayley will be winning the Royal Rumble match. Now, back in the day, I would always be worried at something like this because when somebody wins on the go-home show, back in the day, they would usually lose on the pay-per-view. However, that has changed over the years. I'm still hopeful that Bianca will be the winner. She was my number one pick for the Rumble, although if Alexa wins, I'll be happy. If Rhea Ripley wins, I'll be happy. And as long as the Rumble is good and the winner makes sense, I'll be happy with it. And I did think it was a good match. I do agree with Dr. NXT Scorpio in the chat room. King Corbin came out for a rematch with Dominic because, you know, it's WWE. You have to have rematches. And Rey Mysterio even said that for the rematch, it would be under his terms because last week Dominic did not want any advice or help from Rey Mysterio, and he lost to Corbin. So this week, well, Rey was out there on commentary, and it really wasn't his way. It was just Mysterio on commentary, and he denied that he told Dominic to sneak attack Corbin, which is what Dominic did before the match. Dominic, a very heelish maneuver here, attacking King Corbin. Now, I know Corbin's not the most likable guy, but it's not like he's Rollins where he tried to, well, successfully take your eye out. But nonetheless, Dominic does not like Corbin, so we attacked him from behind. We had this match here, which I thought was a bit sloppy. There were a few moments that didn't look so good. One point where Corbin back body dropped Dominic, and Dominic nearly landed on his head. So the match was a little rough. Corbin picked up the victory with the end of days once again and tried to attack Rey after the match, but Rey was able to fight out of it and get the upper hand, and Corbin took off. So, yeah, wasn't really Mysterio's way this week, and I'm not sure what the point of this match if Rey Mysterio wasn't going to have more influence. It just felt like he was out there on commentary not doing much. So, yeah, it kind of felt pointless in my opinion. We had Big E, who was backstage with Sonya Deville, and he offered her $1 to try and buy a spot like the number 30 spot in the men's Royal Rumble match. Well, he needs to figure out how Natalya and Tamina got in that match, because whoever decided to have them in the match, that's who Big E needs to be talking to and offering $1, maybe offering that Arby's coupon. You know what? If Big E offered me an Arby's coupon, I'd give him that number 30 spot, no questions asked. He would not even have to qualify. You give me that anyone can dine for $8.99 deal, and you got that number 30 spot. That's how much I like Arby's. But the segment had to go downhill. We had The Miz and Morrison show up from Raw. This is like the reverse Midas touch. You know, SmackDown has been a great show. They finally got into a good groove. So what do? You bring over the Raw guys. It's the reverse Midas touch, I'm telling you. Because Miz and Morrison now, they're just so cringy to me. It's gone so downhill. from a year ago, right before the pandemic started, and just Miz and Morrison being booked as total losers and goofballs, and them going to Raw was probably a good thing for SmackDown. So Miz once again teased the Money in the Bank cash-in. They made fun of Big E, and that ended up turning into a brawl backstage between Miz, Morrison, and Big E. We had another backstage segment with Reginald and Sasha Banks. Reginald wanted to make peace on behalf of Carmella, offering Sasha a bottle of wine. Sasha declined it, said that what's the best kind of wine that Carmella can buy with a broken jaw? And then told Reginald he needs a drink so he can keep the wine. Apparently, they are having a match. People were telling me they're going to have a match on Sunday. I went on WWE.com. That's the thing we used to do back in the day. When you want to know a card for a show, you would go on the website and see what the matches are. Well, I did that when we did our predictions, and no mention of Sasha versus Carmella. But apparently, it is happening on Sunday. Now, fortunately, we all sensed it might be happening, so we all picked Sasha to retain the championship. So, yeah, I'm not really looking forward to the match, although their match at TLC was really good. I just don't see Sasha going to WrestleMania without the title. Now, maybe Carmella could win it and have like a 1-week title run. They did do it with Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre, so I suppose anything's possible. Got a $3 super chat here from Brian Spencer. Thank you for that, Brian. I appreciate it. He says, somebody needs to tell Sasha that her laugh is terrible. Well, I've always said this, that I feel that Sasha is so much better as a heel. And when she does the babyface gimmick, she just comes off as too arrogant. So when she laughs and just her whole demeanor, it kind of comes off as unlikable to me personally. And it's not just Sasha. There have been numerous guys over the years. I'll tell you one that always stood out to me, a guy that was a babyface that I really could not get into, and that was Bret Hart. I did like Bret Hart with the Hart Foundation, but when he became WWE champion, it was a tough sale for me because Bret would cut these promos and he crossed the line. They always say to be confident, but also you risk going too far and crossing over and sounding arrogant. And this applies to just everyday people. And I think with Bret's promos, like his delivery, he always came off as arrogant to me and not confident. That's just how I took it as a kid. And I kind of did not like Bret Hart's run as champion because I could not get into Bret Hart as a babyface because he just came off as so arrogant to me. And I feel the same way about Sasha Banks, quite frankly. I think she's way better as a heel, but with the Bayley storyline, it kind of had to be Sasha turning face in that program. But I do think if she's going to face Bianca Belair at WrestleMania, I think Sasha should go back to being a heel. We had Sami Zayn attempting to chat it up with his old buddy Shinsuke Nakamura. Basically wanted Shin to watch his back, and he said he basically took credit for Shin's success in WWE, which that takeover match in 2016 was a great match. Nakamura probably could have had a great match with any number of people, but Sammy's great. And, they had one of the best matches in NXT history, in my opinion. So in a way, Sammy's kind of right. However, Shin was not amused by this. And he said, while he appreciates what Sammy has done, Sammy can go to hell. And Darren G says, I discovered no DQ in late 2002, maybe early 2003. Well, thank you so much for following the site for that long. I really do appreciate it, Darren G. Thank you for continuing to be a viewer and a reader. We had a recap of Roman Reigns versus Kevin Owens, and we had a sit-down face-to-face interview. They were in different areas, one of those split screen confrontations, which I guess is better than a contract signing, but we already had a contract signing, so they couldn't do that again. They had to come up with something else, and well, this is the best that they could come up with. And the gist of this was that Owens talked about how he has already beaten Reigns twice, and it took Reigns' family to get the job done on his behalf, and there's nothing the family can do to stop Owens from getting up in the last man standing match. And Reigns started taking shots at Owens' family, making it personal, bringing up KO's father, and KO was like, "You better watch what you say here." And Reigns just kept going, asking if KO's dad was a smart man, and Owens was getting more frustrated. And Reigns just said Owens was not built for this game. Owens is just a pawn. Reigns is the king of the board, and Owens' family should have said something and should have kept him away from all this craziness, and said that Owens will never be Universal Champion, and Owens should blame his family for what happens to him at the Rumble, and said that they're all fools. The father's a fool. The grandfather's a fool. Owens, he was just getting more and more frustrated, said that Reigns is trying to act like a mafia boss, but he's really an insecure little bully. And when he looks in the mirror, he's proud of himself, and he's the same guy after the Royal Rumble. But the difference is when he looks in the mirror, he will be the new Universal Champion. And the one and only Caleb Jacobs with a $3.08 super chat. Thank you for that, Caleb. I appreciate it. He says, "I like Sasha. 1 NXT, 1 SmackDown, women's, 5X Raw, 2X tag." I guess all the championships that Sasha has held. She's had quite a career. Still think she's better as a heel. And some nice comments here from Janelle Jackson. Says, "You're one of my favorite YouTubers to watch. You're doing a good job. Keep up the good work. Can't wait to see more videos." Again, thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate it. So what did you guys think of this segment? I thought it was okay, but it kind of felt like filler to me. I wasn't blown away by it. And I almost felt like Owens looked a little weak here. Now, maybe that was the intent, but, Reigns was psychologically messing with him, and Owens was taking the bait. So kind of made me lose some sympathy for KO, because he was getting upset by Reigns' comments, And I'm like, really? Like, a good babyface should be able to handle that. Although some would argue that John Cena did it too much, and John Cena never reacted or showed any kind of weakness whatsoever. And that's why people ended up resenting Cena. So I do get that it can backfire when a guy shows no weakness whatsoever and he's always Superman. But, I would have liked to have seen Owens maybe show a little bit more resistance to Reigns' comments and not lose his cool so much. Kind of made him look like a wuss, but I guess it shows that Owens is like one of us. He's not the guy that was meant to be on top. So I kind of get it, but yeah, I had mixed feelings about the segment. I don't think it was the best segment they've done. Let's just put it that way. And looking at the comments here, Ryan Spencer said it was terrible. Owens said that he knew what Reigns was trying to do and still took the bait. And CC Drink did like the segment. And Dr. NXT Scorpio said, "I laughed when Roman turned off the screen." Yeah, Roman's like, this guy's just a goofball. I'm done with him, But I'm sure the match will be really good. And it'll probably be the family again, costing Owens the match. It's a little bit silly, but you got to try to just go with it and enjoy the match for what it is. Shut up and enjoy it, as Road Dogg and a lot of people in WWE might say. And CC Drink brought up a comment here. "I've been watching and going to No DQ Webster since 2013. Your site and video kept me sane while my husband got cancer and died with it. So you helped me through it." Well, I'm really sorry to hear that, but thank you, CC Drink, for tuning in and watching. I really do appreciate it. I try to help any way I can, talking about wrestling, trying to make it as entertaining as possible, because life is tough and sometimes you just want a way to escape and you want to hear what other people think about things and just get drawn into the world. Sometimes the TV product, you see it one way, but you listen to a recap or watch a video and you can get different perspectives on it. And, it gets us talking about it. And, I think it's good that we all have this as a way to just escape from real life. And, it brings us all together too, with the internet and the live streaming. Definitely something I could not have imagined doing like even a decade ago, with this live streaming constantly and being on here and talking to people every week. It's really remarkable how the technology has changed so much in the past decade. And Elon Brown says, plot twist, Kevin Owens wins the title and Roman wins the Rumble and challenges Goldberg. Huh. I mean, that still results in Goldberg winning the title, so not sure how I feel about that one. All right, so moving on here, we had a recap of the Drew McIntyre and Bill Goldberg feud, a video package to set that up. And then we had our main event, which was like at 9:15. And they're probably not having a 30-minute match. So as soon as this started so early, I'm like, well, we're likely getting shenanigans here. And sure enough, we had Cesaro on commentary. Bryan got control of the match. Sami Zayn shows up. Bryan, stupid babyface, gets distracted. Styles takes advantage. Match continued. After the commercial break, they traded some submission holds. Bryan got on the yes lock, and then we had Big E show up. So even though Bryan was doing well, Big E decided to arrive, and he clotheslined Sami Zayn. Cesaro attacked Big E. Bryan did a dive onto the heels, Cesaro and Zayn, got back in the ring with AJ, but then Zayn got into the ring, attacked Bryan, causing a disqualification. And we have a super chat here from Captain Alpha Dorf, $5. Thank you for that. Says, certified freak 7 days a week. Big Papa pump Scott Steiner in the Royal Rumble this week. Holla if you hear me. I wish. I'd love to see Scott Steiner in the Royal Rumble, but I mean, I honestly think there's a better chance of CM Punk being in that Royal Rumble than Scott Steiner. Scott Steiner has to be like bottom of any possibility of showing up in a Royal Rumble match. WWE wants nothing to do with him, and I get it. He's a bit of a loose cannon, but man, I would pop if that siren music hit and he came out there and just did a couple of clotheslines and suplexes and did the push-ups. I'd enjoy that a lot. But yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. And love Facebook _hate FIFA says, turned in for the first time in a year to see Bryan versus Styles. Instead, we got the traditional SmackDown multi-man. So yeah, that's exactly what happened here after the commercial break. Well, before the commercial break, Shinsuke Nakamura ran down to make the save after the DQ. Then we had a big brawl erupt, and we had a little tease that maybe Shin and Cesaro would go at it, but then Sami knocked Shin into Cesaro. Brawl continued, and then when we came back from the commercial, holla, 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 players, the match got turned into a six-man. Now, Adam Pearce wasn't on this show, and Sonya Deville, she's an independent woman, but she likes to stick to the formula. She's already gotten into that role. She knows what to do. When these kind of scenarios happen during a commercial break, you turn it into a tag match, damn it. That's how you do it. Going back to the greats like Teddy Long and John Laurinaitis and Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan and Stephanie and Paige. They all did it that way. And you got to keep the tradition alive. So yeah, the standard, we turn a singles match into a tag match happened here. We had the 6-man, but then Miz and Morrison arrived. And they ran into the ring, causing another disqualification. And then we had Otis show up to get some revenge on Miz finally. He hit the caterpillar. Big E ran down. And we then had, after the commercial break again, a 9-man tag team match. Holla, holla, holla. Sonya Deville, not only does she go from what the legends did before her, but she's one-upping them. She's turning a tag match into a bigger tag match. So we had a 9-man tag team match. And we had to make it 10 because 9 is an odd number, and that just doesn't work. We need 10. So Sheamus arrived. This was the brand-to-brand invitational, and I guess basically everybody was invited. You know what they should have done? They should have just announced in advance, hey, for the final SmackDown before the Rumble, for one night only, anybody from Raw is welcome to show up. That would have made a lot of sense instead of just doing this whole brand-to-brand invitation, which was dumb. I thought it was really dumb. And they did no prior announcement of it. So just a bunch of people decided, okay, Rumble's in 2 days. Like 7 or 8 people decided, we're going to show up on SmackDown just for the hell of it, brand-to-brand invitational. And I thought the limit was 3 anyways. So it was dumb the way they did it. And we had this 10-man tag team match. Marquand, 1976 with a $2 super chat says, Brawl, commercial, tag match, Wrestling 101. Yeah, and it sucks. It's boring. And people on Twitter are like, oh, the wrestling's so good, though, and you're just being negative. Why are you not negative about AEW? Even though a couple weeks ago I said the show was pretty boring, Dynamite. I have not been given Dynamite really high grades as of late. But yeah, people, they get upset. If I criticize SmackDown, they're like, you favor AEW. And if I criticize AEW, people say, oh, you're favoring WWE. No. I like good wrestling shows and I dislike bad wrestling shows. And it doesn't matter if it's AEW or WWE or NXT or Impact Wrestling. If it's a good show, I give it credit. If it sucks, I call it out. Bottom line, I have no favoritism. I want both shows to be great. I want every show I watch to be great. I want every promotion to thrive and do great business and put on exciting shows. So that's the way it is, folks. I'm not here to just be positive about everything just for the sake of being positive or being negative for the sake of being negative. It's crazy on Twitter. It drives me nuts sometimes. So anyways, Sheamus picked up the victory here. The guy who was not announced for the match or any of these matches shows up at the end and pins Zayn with the bro kick. And then afterwards, Miz and Morrison attack him. And then Braun Strowman arrives. We could not have, surprises. We can't have them. This is why we cannot have nice things, because WWE insists on ruining the surprises. Now, we all knew Strowman was showing up. I mean, it was really no surprise to see him back on this show. I guess it was, but at this point, everybody and their brother showed up. But I thought maybe WWE would wait until the pay-per-view, even though that would not have been a big surprise. But at least, he's been gone for a while. I guess they just wanted to make it clear that there are going to be some major stars in this match. So Strowman showed up, and Strowman pretty much destroyed everybody, beating up numerous people, power slamming Cesaro and others, beating up all the heels. And, well, that was the end of SmackDown, everybody. This was not a very good SmackDown, in my opinion. I was not that impressed. I'm not a fan. And you know what? I've said it many times. I'm not a fan of the singles match, DQ, people run down, turns into a tag match. And this took up pretty much the second hour of the show. So it didn't do much to get me excited. I was just waiting for the end of it. And then Strowman shows up. The ending, okay, Strowman shows up. It's fine. I'm not going to complain about that too much. Strowman's actually one of my picks to win the Rumble. So I could very well see him winning it. Show was all right. Roman Reigns stuff did not do much for me. Darren G says, what's worthy of watching tonight? The ending, I guess. Not even the Roman stuff I thought was something you have to go out of your way to see. Maybe the ending with Strowman arriving, but yeah, I mean, all you need to know is Strowman's in the Rumble, bottom line. Bayley and Bianca was good. I definitely recommend checking out that match. That was well done, and I liked the post-match promo. But yeah, overall, I will probably give this show, I'm going to give it a C+. It was all right, but below par from what SmackDown has been putting out content-wise. It felt like a 2-hour Raw. Like, I felt an hour and a half into it, I'm like, all right, can this just be over already? So yeah, it felt like a 2-hour Raw. And hey, you had a bunch of Raw guys on. So yeah, of course it would feel like a 2-hour Raw. Let's see what you guys thought. I'm seeing a lot of C+. Mike B, MVP Kev, Michael Wayne, CC Drink liked it more with a B-. And a question in here, will CM Punk show up on Backstage? Probably not, because I think if he was going to be there, they would announce it. And I know, again, I talked about surprises, but they want a big number for Backstage. So, you know, CM Punk being announced, he already came back. The only surprise at this point would be him actually showing up on a WWE pay-per-view. So you might as well announce him if he's going to be on Backstage. A surprise really serves no purpose. Like, announce it in advance if you want people to tune in. I'm seeing some C's too. Mohammed, Israel Diaz, Dr. NXT Scorpio, all giving it a C. Well, Mohammed did a C-, and Marquand 1976 with a D. Wow. And Elon Brown, why did they not have any women from Raw? Well, because they had to do this 10-man tag team match, so all the men came in. Yeah, it makes no sense, but, that's what they do. Royal Rumble is Sunday, and should be a really fun show. But yeah, this was not a stellar go-home show. It felt like filler. Like they just wanted to get these 2 hours done. They didn't want to really do much to advance storylines, and really the only noteworthy thing is Strowman returned, and that was about it. So guys, make sure you tune in on Sunday night. After the pay-per-view, I will be back to recap the Royal Rumble, and it could be a very fun stream. I'm either going to likely be very happy or very upset, depending on what happens. We shall see what happens with this pay-per-view. But yeah, I have a feeling it's either going to be a great show or it's going to be terrible. If it's just an average, like a B- level show, I'll be surprised. Like, I think it's going to be really good or really bad. And we'll find out Sunday night. I hope you guys will join me for that. And stay tuned to NoDQ.com for play-by-play coverage of the event. Take care, everybody. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy your Royal Rumble weekend. And I will see you all next time.